Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla, here today to talk to you about 4 things you might want to think about if you're about to build a motorcycle. I think there are some general ideas that might help people who are maybe thinking about putting together a bike themselves instead of buying something complete. The first tip I've got for you, regardless of what it is that you're trying to put together, I think you need to have a very clear understanding of what your end goal is going to look like. You need to know what it is that you want to end up with. And the reason I say this is because if you compromise very early, especially in the buying stage, you're never going to be satisfied. I see plenty of people who buy a motorcycle just because it's cheap. You know, the person who wants a panhead instead runs out and buys an iron head. Well, that's fine and dandy, but if you really just wanted a panhead, the iron head's never gonna be that. The other thing to remember too is you're really only saving money once, at the very beginning when you buy whatever it is that you're picking up. Sure, a panhead might cost more than an iron head. However, all the other stuff kind of costs the same. Boring cylinders cost the same. Wiring an iron head versus wiring a panhead costs the same. Painting the tins costs the same. It all costs the same except for your starting point. So that's why I always encourage people to figure out exactly what it is that you want and make sure that you buy that and don't compromise along the way. The next tip I've got for you too is do not plan on riding your custom motorcycle. I mean, eventually you're gonna ride your motorcycle, but what I'm saying is don't plan on riding as you modify. I hear people toss around the term the build a lot. I'm working on the build. Well, that's great if you're actually building a motorcycle. However, if you're just looking to put something together with some really cool bolt-ons and just sort of cosmetically overhaul a bike, totally possible, but it's also not what I think a lot of people will consider a full-on custom build. If you are considering building a bike from scratch, that's totally awesome. But remember, you're probably not gonna be on top of that motorcycle very quickly. Even just silly things, waiting for things to come back from paint and chrome or waiting on the big brown truck to bring you a part you need, it just takes time. And then there's all sorts of snafus you run into. Whoops, my throttle cable is a little bit too short. That stuff actually happens. It's not really a big deal if you have a second bike or you have the understanding that you're not about to jump right onto this bike a couple days later, but it's the sort of thing I think a lot of people lose sight of. They lose hope and then they lose interest in their build. Tip numero tres. In my estimation, I think all custom bikes start with the wheels. Now, one of the things I recommend just about everybody do is draw out your bike, sketch it out. Maybe if you're not so good at drawing, start clipping some photos out of magazines or printing stuff off the internet so you get an idea of what it is that you like. Now, to me, that all has to start with the wheels. I mean, yeah, the frame and the engine, the front end, all that stuff's important, but the wheels are the thing that determine just about everything. Now, the wheels are gonna help determine the bike's stance. They're gonna determine how the frame geometry needs to sit. They're gonna determine the length of the front end. They're also gonna determine what tires can go on that motorcycle. To me, it's very rare that you can totally change direction on a wheel midway through a bike build and everything comes out okay or as intended. So I would say make sure that you're starting with the wheels. For most people, that should be ground zero. Okay, final thing I'd like to remind you of, this is supposed to be fun. And it's supposed to be hard. So when I say it's supposed to be fun, you should enjoy doing this. If you find every single challenge just to be an absolute hassle, you're probably not gonna make it all the way through because everything's an absolute hassle. Now, I think a good thing to do too is also have some experience under your belt. I think that there's a lot of people out there who maybe jump into a full-on overhaul of a motorcycle and they've never done more basic stuff. Now, of course, that's definitely something you can do, but if you don't have a large amount of stick-to-itiveness, that might be kind of difficult. I think if you've gotten yourself a solid base of mechanical knowledge, it's a little bit easier to undertake something as large as building a custom motorcycle. Now remember too, I also said that this is supposed to be hard. Look, there is a certain level of difficulty here. If this was easy, everybody would do it. My mom would ride around on a custom chopper. She's not gonna do that, however, because it's a giant pain in the You need to remember that sometimes those difficulties are what make this whole thing sort of worth it at the end. It is really cool to go putting down the road on a scoot that you've put together by yourself, simply because you had to overcome a lot of obstacles to get there. So, while I don't think that's necessarily everything you need to know about putting together a motorcycle on your own, it should get, I think, some of you who are intending or maybe aspiring to put together a bike in the ballpark and get you in the right mindset to sort of think about what it is that you're gonna need to do to get a bike out there on the road. As always, I'm Lem, and I'm out of here.